Hey guys, I'm doing a review on my Cb300f. The reason I'm doing this review is because there's not a whole lot of videos on the Cb300f, and I'm really hoping to see some more up there, and I'll be putting up some myself. I'm hoping to get into maybe moto vlogging, but we'll see about that. So I've had this bike about 2 months now. I've got roughly, let's see, I think I got 800 miles on there. I've got 1,001 miles actually, so I've already put quite a bit of miles on it, and it's about middle of winter in Colorado, and this bike performs flawlessly, and it is great. The only thing I've noticed changing about it is the selector on whether you're in first or neutral. I don't know, from coming up from first to neutral, it kind of seems like it's getting a little harder to find neutral now. But that's the only complaint I've had so far. Otherwise, I've heard really great things about this bike and many other things about it. So getting around to it, I have also installed some grips on here, or not grips, I'm sorry, levers. These are aluminum, CNC aluminum machined anodized red. The reason I got them is because I hated how big the stock levers were. They went out to about, I don't know, right about here, and I didn't enjoy that very much, and I feel like these are a lot nicer, and they're also adjustable too, so you can move them up and in. They were $30 on Amazon, so that was kind of nice. Another thing I've done to the bike is I've added a Gopro mount, which is what I'm filming with now, and this is for the GoPro Hero 4 Silver. Phone mount, and that works very well. I've taken this bike all the way up to 85, and you know, this thing stays strong. Another thing to talk about, so I've taken this bike up to 85, 90 miles an hour, and it starts to struggle around 85. But most of the highways here are 65 to 75 miles an hour, and it holds both those speeds very well. The only complaint I have is when it's windy. And of course, I bought the no fairing version of the CBR, technically. So obviously it's going to be windier than the CBR 300R because it has no fairings. So can't really say it's the bike's fault. Let me go ahead and show you guys the dash on here. So you've got your fuel gauge here, RPMs, miles per hour, your trip meter, It's got trip A and trip B. And then your time. It's pretty nice having the time on there. The only thing I wish it had, like the CBR300R, is the temp gauge. Instead, if it gets too hot, a light will pop up here saying that the bike's getting a little too warm. But other than that, that's about the only thing I did not like about that. The gauge is really nice to have, though. I actually prefer that over the one of those arm ones. Another thing about it is I've heard a lot of people on the forum saying go up a tooth or down a tooth in the back as far as gearing goes. And I think this bike's geared almost perfectly for what it's made for, which is city riding and some highway. I'm actually going to be doing a lot more highway riding than city, just because the area I live in is more highways. So what I'm thinking about doing is getting a windscreen on it, and not one of those giant ones for like a Harley or a Cruiser or something like that, but you know, something to block the wind off my body. And that would be only if I'm going on a longer trip. But otherwise, it's really, I mean, the wind can get bad after a long time, but if you're only riding, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to wherever you're going, it's really not a big hassle. I've got a speed and strength helmet for it too. Let me take you around to the other side here. So there's another thing I'm not a huge fan of, is that giant exhaust. However, there is not a whole lot you can do about that. There are aftermarket exhausts out there for this, like Two Brothers, M4, GP, etc., Kaufman. But the only worry I have with those is that this bike is single cylinder, meaning that if you change the exhaust, you're also changing the back pressure of the bike. And this bike is, the engine on this bike is tuned for the back pressure. And you'll notice that if you ever take the muffler off, it's just this bolt, and there's another bolt on the bottom here, and it just slides right off. Turn the bike on, it is really lopey on the idle. Also has no power if you try to ride it. And why do I say this? Because I tried it. So it obviously needs the back pressure, and that's what I'm worried about with most of those exhausts. Along with that, those other exhausts, other than Kaufman's, which I know will not have enough back pressure, because I've read reviews on it. I've talked to some people that have it, and they told me that it's a cool exhaust. It looks great, but you lose power, and you're also losing a little bit of top end. So it's not really the way to go for me, and I think I'm just going to stay stock exhaust for a while until I see something that's more definitive and a lot cheaper. I mean, $600 for an exhaust that's a lot. That's more than I spend on my truck for a full catback exhaust. I mean, that's a lot. Another thing about it, you got your fender right here. It's pretty nice, actually. It's really not. It's not that huge. I mean, people are doing fender eliminators, and I'm thinking about doing it myself because it would be nice to get rid of this entire portion here. But for the most part, I can live with it for now. One thing I notice when I'm riding with passengers on the back, like my girlfriend, she's 110 pounds or so, and when we're riding, every time I shift gears, and I shift pretty smooth, so it's not me. She just tends to slide back just because the seat is so slippery, I guess you could say. Other than that, it's good. So let's do a little bit more of a review on the engine itself and how it performs. So I was a little bit worried when I bought this bike about the power, and I was wrong to be worried, to be honest. This bike holds its own. It can 0 to 60 is not nearly as fast as a Ninja 300, but it's not a Ninja 300. It's a Cb300f, and it's got Honda's reputation behind it. And that's why I went with this bike rather than a Ninja or the the R3, just because the Honda reputation. And I kind of enjoy the single cylinder bikes just because more or less parts and cheaper to fix if anything was to happen. And I don't know much about Yamaha or Kawasaki. This is my first bike, if you guys didn't know that already. So the red line's right at, like, I think it's 10.5. Yeah, 10.5 RPM, 10,500 RPM to be exact. And you really hardly ever get up there. However, cruising speed at, say, 65 to 70, you're sitting between 7,000 and 8,000 RPM, which is a little concerning for me and a few other people. just because that's high RPM, and we're used to driving cars for a lot of us, and you know, cars sit at 2,000, 3,000 RPM all the time, cruising at 80 miles an hour easily. However, this is a bike, and this is only cranking out like 26 horsepower, 27. That kind of goes between what site you read. Honda never put out an official horsepower or torque rating for this, so it's kind of what you read. But anyways, I definitely think that this bike has more than enough power to get you where you're going. But it's definitely perfect for this bike. The engine looks gorgeous. You got you can read your oil level here, and then behind here is your antifreeze. And then you got your rear brake. And another thing about the brakes is people are kind of worried about, you got a single disc in the front. To be honest, that is more than enough, and I don't have ABS, and to be honest, guys, if you're looking at a version with ABS, I wouldn't fork out the extra. I think it's $300, something like that. $300, $400. It's really, I've never locked up the brakes, and I've done some quick maneuvers to get out of the way or save myself or whatever it is. So, and I've never locked up the brakes. However, they are very sufficient to stop the bike. I mean, they're good. So I wouldn't worry about getting ABS if I were you. If you're debating it, my answer would be no, but that's completely up to you. So anyways, another thing about this is the tires. I've heard so many people say that the tires are terrible on these stock bikes and that you need to get new tires. I would partially disagree. However, I have not gone canyon riding or anything, or I don't do any sort of, you know, hard corners or anything like that. But however, I feel pretty solid on the road, and this bike handles phenomenally going down the highway. I mean, I feel like I'm just riding a cloud, to be honest. And the suspension is a little soft, but it's, for this bike, I think it's just perfect. What else do we have? Let's see. The lights. Let me show you the front light here, guys. Oops, sorry. So that's low beam, high beam. They're sufficient enough at night. I've ridden at night quite a few times already, and they do just fine. However, I'm thinking about doing a upgrade to a projector with the halo and whatnot. Turn signals. They're quite large, but livable. There's that, and then you got your brake light in the back, and that's about it. And the forks, the only thing I really wish these forks were like, I wish I could get like a gold fork, like an anodized inner golden fork. I think it would look really cool on this bike, but apparently you can't really find that for this bike, or I haven't been able to, and I've read on the Cb300f forums that there's not really any choices out there right now anyways for that. So overall, guys, I would give this bike a 9 out of 10. I mean, it really is what it's meant to do. I mean, you go ride this anywhere. I've ridden down dirt, it does just fine. It's got plenty of power. It's not a race car or a race bike, but it does well. I mean, for $4,000, you really can't complain. I mean, this bike's like perfect, and I'm more than happy. It's just miles per gallon for me. And I'm riding, I mean, it's snow outside, so